We are Pro Cannabis Media.
The Summit Lounge in Worcester at 116 Water Street is Massachusetts' only private cannabis consumption social club. Hi, I'm Jimmy Young, Pro Cannabis Media founder. On March 1st, that's a Wednesday night, 7 to 9 p.m., we're going to be live streaming a program right from here, a talk show with all sorts of little media celebrities, sports celebrities. We've got an infused sampling of some food that we might be able to share here, as well as some other surprises. Cannabis trivia, Cannabis Jeopardy, and the best freaking milkshakes of all time. Check this out. Now at the Summit Lounge, a fireside, that's what they call it. It's a chocolate ice cream blended with milk and s'mores, Torani syrup, fluff rim. You had me at fluff. It's all coated in s'mores cereal, topped with freshly toasted marshmallows, a graham cracker, and a Hershey's milk chocolate bar. They'll be here. I'll be here. Will you be here? Take a picture of the QR code and get your tickets now. Hi, everybody. Welcome again to another special edition On the Road with Jimmy Young in the Weeds. And in this case, at the Sturbridge Host Conference Center, because it's the Organic Cultivators annual conference out here. James Beurer, Wendy Kornberg are with us. They are both a long way from home because the Emerald Triangle, Humboldt County, is where they live. And if you know anything about the culture and all that neat stuff, these two have seen it all. And James, I know you're not going to mind. I'm going to start with Wendy, if that's okay. She is the second generation farmer after all. I know. Yes, just get used to it, pal. Okay, Wendy, how rewarding is it for you to come 3,000 miles and share your experience and knowledge with people who are just sponges?
I love this. This conference is so much fun for me because we get to talk about all kinds of things, and this conference specifically garners a bunch of attention from both vegetable growers and cannabis growers. So being somebody who farms everything, and our motto for Organic Cultivators is we grow everything, it's really cool to get to interact with people at this level. So like yesterday, somebody asked about a Johnson Sioux composter, and I literally started jumping up and down. I'm like, oh, I love those. Those are so cool. You're going to make one. Let's talk about it. And so to get to kind of incorporate and integrate all forms of agriculture is something that we don't really see very much. It's either vegetables or cannabis. And I love that we can bring together these two schools and be like, hey, guess what? We're all playing the same game. We're all together.
That's right. And they're all living things, and you take care of them as if they're your own children, if you will, right?
Except for you kill the plants eventually. So we don't recommend doing that with you.
We don't want to espouse to that. No, absolutely not. And you mentioned compost, and I immediately thought of James for some reason. I don't know why. Get used to it.
I thought we were friends.
We are friends. We are friends. Absolutely.
Compare me to a pile of.
Compost is a beautiful thing.
Compost, you see how she already says compost is a beautiful thing? She thinks you're a beautiful thing.
I'm finished
Go with
compost.
it.
You're on your way.
We all are, actually, right? Hey, I don't know about you guys, but I'm leaving my body to science with a list of all the shit that I put in it, okay? And go, now you can check out those organs and what impact it had for this much imbibing over the last few decades. James, again, same question to you. How rewarding is it for you to come 3,000 miles? This is something I know you are passionate about, and you love to share the knowledge with others.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Like the messages that people send me randomly and the thank yous I get, it's a little weird. It's hard to know how to take that in other than just say, thank you. But it does make a big difference. It takes a lot to put this stuff on mentally, emotionally, financially. So, people saying thank you really makes it so, we want to do it again, even though sometimes it can be a lot to put on.
This is your second one, and I was here for the first one too, and I was amazed at the note-taking that was going on in the crowd. And that, first of all, two reasons. One, they actually are using a pen and paper, age-appropriate activity. I love that, right? There's so much knowledge. Listening to Dan Kittredge talk about larvae and bugs attacking plant, I mean, I actually understood it, Wendy.
Jimmy claims that he doesn't have a green thumb, but it's my life's mission to get him something he can't kill.
Well, I'm going to work with the Armoire, which grows it for me inside a piece of furniture that doesn't smell. They're also one of our sponsors. So, you know how that works. But it is a living thing, and you have to deal when you're an outdoor grower. I don't care what you're growing, right? It's bugs. We got to get rid of the bugs.
No, we don't have to get rid of the bugs.
Tell me how you can't get rid of the bugs. Make them do good things.
No, so the ideal thing that we're all kind of striving for is this balance with nature. Right? So, one of the things that we see in traditional horticulture and vegetable farming is that they're always breeding for a stronger plant. Cannabis has a little bit to catch up on. We're breeding for certain things, which generally tend to often not be the strongest. We're like, this one was the weakling, but there's something so amazing about it. I have to keep these genetics alive. And then, some generations down the line when they've cloned it and cloned it and cloned it and it starts going sideways and we're like, okay, now how do we bring that back? And then we get into breeding cycles and then we lose the thing that we were after. It's much more delicate. It's a different thing. So while we bring these camps of agriculture together, there are still differences that if you're just a cannabis grower, you don't really understand horticulture. If you're just a horticultural grower, you don't really understand cannabis. So for the people who do both, we see where there are things in common and we see where there are things that are different. So outdoors, I can ignore the bugs because in general, if there's a plant that really succumbs to it, I don't grow that again. We had a magic melon from Humboldt Seed Company. Amazing. It was beautiful. People loved it. I will never grow it again because I had aphids on that cultivar like nothing I'd ever seen. So, this doesn't work for me on my farm. I'm not going to grow it anymore. But if it had a high enough cash value, I would figure out how to grow it and how to combat those bugs. Ideally, again, we're trying to find those balances where the bugs come, they go, oh, I'm going to nibble a little bit, and then they go, I'm not really that interested, I'm going to go away. And maybe they go to my neighbor's farm who grows all those weak cultivars that I don't really like, and so maybe that works for me too. And that's kind of a horrible thing to say, but it's kind of the truth. Dan Kittredge says it. He says, I love tomato blight because when tomato blight comes in, it takes down all the tomato farmers near me, and mine are doing just fine because I've kept plants alive that didn't get blight, and the ones that got blight, I just didn't grow again. So for me, my cash value now went up. It's kind of a horrible thing to say because it's not cooperative and collaborative, but at the same point, from a purely human capitalistic vantage point, it works.
Pays the bills. That's the idea, right? I'm learning that still to this day. James, what's your vision for this conference? You've done it for a couple of years now, and, everybody wants to see growth because, after all, you guys are farmers. Oh, I couldn't resist doing that. Good job. Thank you. I appreciate it. What is your vision for this? How can you make it grow? Or do you think you need to because it's such a great gathering of minds, organic cultivator minds?
So the first year we put this on, we were not determined, but we had come to the conclusion that, we're probably going to lose money. Not many people know about it. It's not some world-renowned thing, but that we were going to do it anyway because the information is what matters, and that's what's important. So moving forward, that really is the ethos around it. What I'd like to see for the group and the conference part of that is to really, like Wendy said, connect different camps of agriculture, not just cannabis and food, but methodologies. There are a lot of different camps. Permaculturists and biodynamic farmers, all these different groups, and they gatekeep a lot and they stake a claim like, you're wrong, I'm right, this is how you do it. And I really believe that we're kind of an umbrella and there's room for all of us to come together and move forward and have a message together because we're really kind of all after the same thing. We just kind of do it differently.
I like that. There's never... It's always something new when it comes to working with a living thing like a plant, right? I mean, is there ever a perfect perfect time where you grow something and it comes out exactly like you'd like it to?
There are sometimes, and a lot of times, it does take some trial and error to get there. So what works on my farm might not work on your farm. I don't do biodynamics because it doesn't light me up. It doesn't thrill my soul the way that Korean natural farming does. I don't really practice Jadam that much because it doesn't thrill my soul the way that Korean natural farming does. I like the intentionality of my methodology, but I don't poo-poo the people who do the biodynamics. I'm like, you take great joy in filling a horn full of manure and burying it, and that lights you up. That's amazing. Do that. If you're, a permaculturist and it lights you up to draw the maps and figure out where everything goes and be uber organized in these really beautiful ways that I just don't seem to manage well, then that's a beautiful thing. And it can be this works for me, this works for you, and as long as we're all stepping forward together with sustainability and regeneration in our minds and our hearts, we're all doing great work. And there's no reason to fight. And there's no reason to fight conventional agriculture. There's a way to bring them in and say, you should do what we do, because look how happy we are. We're blessed over here. And sure, maybe we're not, rolling in riches and going to Bora Bora, but,
Bora boring.
Yeah, really.
It's the Progressive commercial.
Yeah, it is. Oh my gosh, it is.
I watch way too much television.
Love to go to Bora Bora someday, and I do miss going on vacation sometimes, but
What's a vacation?
every day of my life is a vacation.
You don't work.
I love what I do.
Isn't that a beautiful thing? Let's make a bumper sticker out of that. I like that.
Tell yourself when you don't get real vacations. Just saying.
I get it too, guys. If that's the case, I haven't worked a day in my life, because everything I've done, I've enjoyed doing. And that's the key, right? To find your passion, right? Right? All right. Hey, James, I know, Wendy, you guys are waiting. You postponed your lunch plans. I held up the whole party enough. I just want to thank you again for letting me come into your life. I love that you guys were on with us on our pseudo live from the Summit Lounge on January 25th. We're doing it again on March 1st. That's going to be fun. I hope there are still some tickets available. Please check out our website at procannabismedia.com if you're interested, or I really don't mind doing this. Jimmy at ProCannabisMedia is how you find me, and you can get into the Live at Summit Lounge party that we're going to have, because it's a show, but it is a wink wink lounge after all, right?
If you haven't been to the Summit Lounge, is it still the only consumption lounge in Massachusetts?
It is the only private legal consumption lounge in Massachusetts.
They're awesome. We're actually having our after party on Sunday there because they're great. And then like I said, I'm looking forward to a milkshake because they keep posting them all the time. I'm like, I got to have a milkshake.
Oh, yeah. I can vouch for them, actually. There's one in particular with marshmallows that I recommend. All right. That's going to be it for now. That'll wrap us this edition of In the Weeds with Jimmy Young on the road at the Organic Cultivators Natural Conference here in Sturbridge, Massachusetts. And remember, it's a whole new world of weed out there. Use it responsibly. The Summit Lounge in Worcester at 116 Water Street is Massachusetts' only private cannabis consumption social club. Hi, I'm Jimmy Young, Pro Cannabis Media founder. On March 1st, that's a Wednesday night, 7 to 9 p.m., we're going to be live streaming a program right from here, a talk show with all sorts of little media celebrities, sports celebrities. We've got an infused sampling of some food that we might be able to share here, as well as some other surprises. Cannabis trivia, Cannabis Jeopardy, and the best freaking milkshakes of all time. Check this out. Now at the Summit Lounge, a fireside, that's what they call it. It's a chocolate ice cream blended with milk and s'mores, Torani syrup, fluff rim. You had me at fluff. It's all coated in s'mores cereal, topped with freshly toasted marshmallows, a graham cracker, and a Hershey's milk chocolate bar. They'll be here. I'll be here. Will you be here? Take a picture of the QR code and get your tickets now. It's a whole new world of weed out there, isn't it? Everyone is learning new ways to titrate, ingest, consume, imbibe, and engage with this plant medicine we call cannabis. Hi, I'm Jimmy Young, the founder of Pro Cannabis Media and the host of In the Weeds, and once in a while, the really live business cannabis talk show we call Green Rush on Friday afternoons from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern. Now let me tell you my cannabis story. You know, I've had 4 major surgeries in the past 23 years and suffer from osteoarthritis with a variety of metal parts in my body and one on deck. Now, thanks to those chronic pain issues, I've been a medical patient in Massachusetts for almost 10 years now. I remember my first trip to a dispensary just outside of Boston, and I told the bud tender I didn't want to smoke it anymore, so I tried edibles, then tinctures, then vaping, and now, if I'm going to smoke, I only use the Weegets filtration system. What? The Weegets.com, Weegets, that's weed, W-E-E-D, G-E-T-S.com, is where you'll find the planet's coolest product that cools the smoke from everyone's favorite flower. Now, the guy that started this was a pretty good medical device manufacturer, and he created this maze pipe that cools the smoking process from 1300 degrees Fahrenheit upon inflammation down to just 90 degrees when it reaches your mouth. That's right, 1300 down to 90. That's why this maze pipe is amazing. So here's how it works. You start with that glass bowl, you flame on, and then you inhale nice and smooth so the smoke goes through 3 different filtration and cooling systems. Now, if pre-rolls is your thing, you can use the Weegets filter that a pre-roll fits into perfectly. That's right, or even a chillum. The more filters, the smoother the draw. Best of all is the price. You can get all this, or one or the other, for just a few bucks. It'll cool your smoke and you'll give your lungs a break. Now, add in the code of PCMTV and you get 15% off. So just go to Weegets.com and check out the best way to enjoy a cooler smoke with less coughing and hacking and more peace of mind. All that resin and tar is collected in the polyurethane filters that are easy to clean with soap, water, and a few Q-tips. Your lungs will thank you, and so will I.
Which at first I thought, oh, I don't know if I'm an activist, but I have, held a bullhorn on the State House steps. I have frequently testified before the Cannabis Control Commission in the state legislature, and I'm not, shy about criticizing where I see, mistakes being made. So yeah, I think that's what differentiates me, just an appreciation for the plant. And then also I'm a cannabis entrepreneur myself. I've started businesses, so I've lived that entrepreneurial journey. I know how hard it is. It is absolutely a marathon, not a sprint. So I think that, I'm in the game, not just on the sidelines.
As a broker, we have access to many, many cannabis carriers. So I will go in with 2 or 3 quotes for people. The quotes might be $20,000 for one, $22,000 for another, $17,500 for another. Pretty close among the 3. What I tell people is it's not the pricing, it's what's included and not included, meaning exclusions. An exclusion in layman's terms is just something that's not included. It's not on the menu, so it's just not included. But if you don't know that, if no one shows you that on page 71 of a 150-page policy, you're not going to know. No one knows. I never met one person that says they read an insurance policy. If you do, I got some property in Florida for you.
Weed Talk and In the Weeds are 2 productions of Pro Cannabis Media supported by Revolutionary Clinics, one of the top medical cannabis dispensaries in the Massachusetts area, now with 3 locations in Greater Boston, 2 in Cambridge and 1 on Broadway in Somerville. Rev Clinics has a patient-first mission. They will customize your needs as a medical patient with the proper titration and combination of strains, flavors, and products. Rev Clinics, where the patient comes first.
So the reality of the matter is, big banks and small banks are going to be different in a lot of ways. And they're both going to have their advantages and disadvantages. For a business like cannabis, you really have to have an integral knowledge of that business and a real granular knowledge of that business and the players involved in it. And that's why if you look at the banks that are successful to play in this space in Massachusetts, they are smaller banks that are very heavy, intensified personal touch, human communication, where you don't get a lot of that with the bigger banks.